I spent 2 years planning our perfect wedding, thinking I was marrying my best friend, 33M, since college. Then, at 3 a.m. on a random Tuesday, I, 31F, opened Instagram and saw my maid of honor story, which was meant to be close friends only, but she'd accidentally posted to everyone. 2 seconds of footage. My fiance, now ex, kissing her neck at what looked like our favorite dive bar. The timestamp showed it was from that exact night. My name is Lauren, and 48 hours ago, I thought my biggest problem was choosing between the chicken or fish for the wedding reception. Now I'm sitting in my car outside what used to be my apartment, trying to figure out how I miss seeing the biggest deception of my life happening right in front of me. Let me back up. I've known Michael since freshman year at Boulder. We were in the same study group for economics, and he was always that guy, charming, confident, the one who somehow convinced me to take shots of tequila before our 8 a.m. final. We dated casually for a year, then things got serious. We moved to San Francisco together after graduation. He proposed last March at the same restaurant where we had our first official date. Rachel, 32F, my maid of honor, has been my roommate and best friend since sophomore year. She's the person who held my hair back when I had food poisoning, who helped me move apartments 3 times, who was the first one I called when Michael proposed. She spent the last 6 months helping me pick out wedding dresses, arguing with vendors about flower arrangements, and generally being the best friend anyone could ask for. Which is why, when I saw that Instagram story, my brain literally couldn't process what I was seeing. I watched it maybe 50 times, trying to convince myself it was someone else. But no, there was Michael's stupid tribal tattoo on his shoulder, the one I kept telling him to get removed, and there was Rachel's signature red manicure that she'd just gotten that afternoon. I called Michael immediately. It was 3:17 a.m. He answered on the first ring, which should have been my first clue something was off. Hey babe, everything okay? His voice was careful, controlled. Where are you? At Dave's place, we're having a few beers after the game. Dave was his college best friend and groomsman. I could hear voices in the background, but something about them felt staged. The Warriors game ended at 10 p.m., Michael. Silence. Listen, he said finally, I can explain. I hung up. I spent the next hour screenshotting Rachel's story, which disappeared after my 10th viewing. She must have caught her mistake, calling my sister Sarah, 29F, who lived 3 hours away, and making a plan. By 4:30 a.m., I had screenshots of the story. A suitcase packed. My laptop and important documents. A game plan. Sarah arrived at 6 a.m. with coffee in her boyfriend's truck. We cleared out my stuff while Michael was supposedly at work. He texted at 7:30 saying he had to go in early for a client emergency. Rachel was visiting her mom in Sacramento for the week, a convenient lie that I believed completely. What I didn't tell anyone, not even Sarah, was that I'd been noticing small things for months. Rachel had been weird about her phone lately, always placing it face down during our wedding planning sessions. Michael had been working late more often, which I'd attributed to his promotion. Last month at dinner, they'd exchanged this look that I couldn't quite interpret, but I pushed it down, telling myself I was being paranoid. I wasn't paranoid enough. By 8 a.m., I texted Michael, we need to talk. Meet me at coffee bar on Clement at 11. He responded immediately, thank goodness. I'd been up all night wanting to explain. I bet he had. The confrontation was almost anticlimactic. Michael showed up looking genuinely distraught, with dark circles under his eyes and his hair uncombed. He ordered a black coffee and kept stirring it long after the sugar had dissolved. How long? I asked. 6 months, he said quietly. 6 months. That meant it started right around the time he proposed. Was the engagement just what? A way to keep me from finding out? No. He looked genuinely upset. Lauren, I love you. I've always loved you. Rachel and I? It was supposed to be just once. After I proposed. We were both stressed about the wedding, and we had too much to drink one night, and then it just kept happening. Does Dave know? Michael nodded. He's been covering for me a few times. Dave, who I'd always thought was one of the good ones. Who'd been hanging out with me and Rachel just last weekend, making jokes about Michael's cold feet. And the other groomsmen? Just Dave. I believed him, which said something about how well I thought I knew him. What about Rachel's boyfriend? Rachel had been dating some guy named Tom for about a year. Michael looked uncomfortable. They broke up 2 months ago. She didn't want to tell you because she knew you'd ask questions about why. The worst part was, Rachel was right. I would have asked questions. I would have dug deeper into why a perfectly nice guy suddenly dumped my best friend. I would have been suspicious. Maybe I should have been suspicious anyway. I need you to leave the apartment, I told him. Tomorrow I'll come get the rest of my stuff. Where are you staying? That's not your concern anymore. He reached across the table for my hand, but I pulled away. Lauren, please. We can work through this. It was a mistake. I'll do anything. Anything would have been not sleeping with my maid of honor for 6 months while planning our wedding. The thing about major life revelations is that they're never what you expect. I thought I'd cry. Instead, I felt strangely numb, like I was watching this happen to someone else. The crying came later, in Sarah's spare bedroom, when the reality finally hit. I didn't contact Rachel that day. I wasn't ready for that conversation. Instead, I spent the afternoon calling vendors and canceling wedding arrangements. The venue was willing to refund 75% of our deposit since the wedding was still 3 months away. The florist was less sympathetic. The photographer, ironically enough, was Rachel's cousin, which meant that conversation was going to be extra awkward. By midnight, I'd crafted the perfect Instagram post. To my 847 closest friends, Michael and I are no longer getting married. No need for details, I just wanted you to know before changing my relationship status. Thanks for understanding. I posted it, then immediately changed my number. I wasn't ready for the flood of concerned texts and phone calls I knew were coming. Actually, that's a lie. I changed my number after creating a new Instagram account and saving all the photos from our relationship. Even betrayed and heartbroken, I wasn't ready to delete 3 years of memories. I just wasn't ready to look at them either. First update. Thank you for all the supportive messages and comments. I know I said I wasn't ready for details, but you've all been so supportive that I want to give you the full picture. It's been 2 weeks since I found out about Michael and Rachel. The Instagram post blew up more than I expected. Apparently, Rachel had already told several mutual friends that I'd caught them but was spinning it like I was overreacting to a one-time kiss. The truth came out pretty quickly after that. Here's what I've learned. Michael immediately moved in with Dave. Rachel tried calling me 97 times before I blocked her number. She then created a fake Instagram account to DM me, which I also blocked. She finally got through to me via my work email. Clever, I'll give her that. Her email was 2,000 words long. I'll save you most of it, but here are the highlights. She was in love with Michael since college. She was depressed about turning 30 and made bad choices. She never meant to hurt me. She was going to end things after the wedding. Sure, Jan, she wanted me to know that Michael really loved me and only stayed with her because he couldn't resist the thrill. That last part actually made me laugh. The thrill of watching your fiancé's best friend plan your wedding while you're sleeping with the groom. I didn't respond to her email. Instead, I forwarded it to 3 of our mutual friends who I knew would spread the word. Let Rachel deal with being the actual homewrecker instead of playing the victim. Michael has been different. He shows up at my work sometimes, just standing across the street looking pitiful. He sends flowers with notes like "give me a chance to explain." I had my assistant return them. Last week, he even spoke to someone at my apartment building about changing back in, saying he lived there and forgot his key. Thank God for security cameras and a receptionist who took one look at him and said, "Ma'am," and 5B said if a man in a blue Honda came by, call the police. Here's the part I haven't told anyone. Before all this happened, I was about 3 months pregnant. I lost the baby 4 days after finding out about the affair. The doctor said it was likely stress-induced. I never got a chance to tell Michael the first was pregnant. Rachel doesn't know either. I've only told Sarah and my mom. It's been a mess emotionally. The grief of losing a baby nobody knew about, on top of losing my relationship and my best friend, has been overwhelming. But weirdly, it's also been clarifying. Because when I think about that potential child, about what kind of environment it would have grown up in, about what kind of secrets would have poisoned their world, it makes me grateful for the Instagram mistake that saved us all from a bigger disaster. My therapist, yes, I finally got one, calls it building your truth narrative. I'm learning to see this as a gift rather than a curse. Here's what I've done with my freedom. Started therapy. Took 3 weeks off work for mental health. Learned to salsa dance. Michael hated dancing. Adopted a rescue dog named Bowie who's currently snoring on my feet. Applied for a transfer to our New York office. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there. My therapist says it's okay to have days where I want revenge, as long as I don't act on it. She doesn't know that I've actually been very strategic about my non-revenge. See, Rachel works at a PR firm. Last week, I was having coffee with Natalie, 28F, a former colleague who moved to a different PR firm 6 months ago. I casually mentioned what happened. Natalie's firm is the biggest competitor to Rachel's. I knew Natalie would spread the word about Rachel's integrity issues. PR is a small world in San Francisco. Rachel was promoted to a new role this week. I have it on good authority she'll be managing social media for a mobile dog grooming company out of a satellite office in Fresno. In corporate speak, she's been professionally sidelined. Is that petty? Absolutely. Do I regret it? Not even a little bit. Michael's still texting. His latest message, "My therapist says I need to respect your boundaries, but I just want you to know I'll wait forever for you." I replied, "Don't." Sarah asked me yesterday if I still love him. I thought about it for a long time. The truth is, I still love who I thought he was. But that person was never real. He was a character Michael played, one with carefully edited secrets and selective truth-telling. Sometimes late at night, I think about replying to Rachel's email. Writing my own 2,000-word response detailing exactly what she took from me. But every time I start typing, I remember that she already knows. The guilt is probably eating her alive. That knowledge is more satisfying than any words I could write. Second update. Thank you all for the overwhelming support. Some of you have DM'd asking if I'm okay after I went radio silent for a few weeks. I'm still processing, still healing, but I wanted to update you because some wild things have happened. So about my transfer to New York, it fell through. But here's the plot twist, I got offered a better position in Seattle. Apparently, my boss, who I thought had no idea about my personal drama, has been watching my work closely. She called me into her office last Tuesday and said, "Leadership is about handling crisis with grace. You've shown more grace in the last month than some executives show in a decade. The Seattle office is bigger, the role is better, and most importantly, it's far enough away that I won't run into my ex-fiancé but close enough that I can still see Sarah, she's pregnant, by the way, which adds another layer to my grief about the miscarriage." Here's what happened with Michael and Rachel. Michael's waiting forever turned into exactly 37 days. Last week, my friend Emily, who couldn't keep a secret if her life depended on it, texted me, "Lauren, you need to call me right now." When I called, she was practically vibrating with gossip. Michael and Rachel are already dating. Like, publicly. They went to Dave's birthday party together. As a couple. I felt nothing. Or maybe I felt relieved? Like watching someone finally admit they're a smoker after years of pretending those aren't cigarettes in their trash. But here's the real kicker, remember how I mentioned Tom, Rachel's ex? He reached out to me. "Tom, 34M, I know this is weird, but I think I owe you an explanation." I found texts between Rachel and Michael on her phone. That's why I broke up with her. I couldn't prove anything, and I thought maybe I was being paranoid. "I'm sorry. We met for coffee." He showed me screenshots he'd kept. I know, but hear me out. They confirmed what I'd suspected, the affair had been going on even longer than Michael admitted. There were texts from 8 months ago. Tom said something that stuck with me. The crazy thing is, I was ready to forgive her when she deleted those messages and promised it was just emotional, not physical. I wanted to believe her. I think you did too. He was right. I'd wanted so badly to believe in Rachel's goodness that I'd ignored every warning sign. Like when she started getting really invested in Michael's CrossFit journey. Or when she began suggesting Friday night plans that just happened to include Michael. The revenge plot thickens. Remember Natalie from my last update? She actually outdid herself. Rachel's new promotion in Fresno? It's for a company that's about to declare bankruptcy. Rachel's boss, let's call her Karen, is Natalie's college roommate. Karen's been looking for an excuse to shuffle Rachel out after she discovered Rachel had been charging personal Ubers to company accounts. The mobile dog grooming company position? It was created specifically to get Rachel out of the main office while they build a case against her. 3-month probation, then they're letting her go with a severance that includes a non-compete clause. I didn't ask Natalie to do any of this. But I also didn't stop her when she asked if I wanted Rachel to face some consequences. Sometimes the universe delivers justice without our intervention. Sometimes it needs a little help from well-placed office friendships. Sarah thinks I'm being too vengeful. You're better than this, she said. Am I though? I replied. Or am I finally being exactly as vindictive as I should have been months ago? She didn't have an answer to that. The therapy breakthrough. My therapist had me do this exercise where I write a letter to myself from a year ago, warning me about what's coming, giving advice. Here's what I wrote. Dear past Lauren. In 6 months, your best friend will betray you in the worst possible way. Your fiancé will too. You'll lose a pregnancy that you don't even know about yet. Your Instagram will break the news before your heart can process it. But you'll survive. You'll more than survive. You'll discover you're stronger than you ever imagined. You'll learn that loving yourself is more important than being loved by the wrong people. Don't check Rachel's Instagram story at 3 a.m. Or do. Because that moment of pain will save you from a lifetime of lies. Also, buy Tesla stock. And start doing Pilates now. You'll need the core strength for all the rage crying. Love, your incredibly badass future self. My therapist cried when I read it to her. Then she said something profound. Healing isn't about going back to who you were. It's about becoming who you're meant to be. So here's who I'm becoming. Someone who trusts herself first. Someone who understands that not everyone deserves access to her life. Someone who can orchestrate karma without getting her hands dirty. Someone who can laugh at how Michael's thrill turned into having to delete his own social media because people keep commenting about what a trash human he is. The wedding venue refunded the full deposit after the manager saw my Instagram post. Turns out she got cheated on last year and said, "Sisters support sisters." The photographer, Rachel's cousin, is offering me a free photo shoot whenever I'm ready to celebrate being myself again. Even the florist called to say she'll send flowers to my Seattle apartment once I'm settled. On the house, she said. For new beginnings. Next week, I sign my Seattle lease. Bowie's already been approved by the pet-friendly building. I'm looking at this Scandinavian minimalist apartment downtown with too much natural light and not a single memory of Michael. Rachel texted from her personal number last night, "I miss you." I replied, "I miss who I thought you were too." Radio silence since then. Sometimes the best revenge is becoming the person they lost. Sometimes it's letting them see exactly what they gave up. Sometimes it's moving to Seattle and building a life so complete they become just a cautionary tale you tell over wine. I'm choosing all three. Final thoughts for now. I used to think forgiveness meant letting things go. Now I think it means making peace with the fact that some people were exactly who they showed you, and you just weren't looking closely enough. Oh, and Tom and I are grabbing dinner next week. Just as friends. But maybe, eventually, as people who understand what it feels like to have the ground pulled out from under you. Or maybe we'll just be two people sharing a really good bottle of wine and some really bad jokes about cheaters. Either way, I'm ready for whatever comes next. Third update. Hi everyone. It's been 3 months since my last update, and wow, what a ride it's been. First off, Seattle is everything I hoped it would be. My apartment is a bright, open space with views of the sound. Bowie has made friends with every dog in the building. I'm learning that healing happens faster when you're surrounded by new beginnings. But let's address the elephant in the room, or should I say, the text from Rachel that blew up my phone last week. I'm pregnant. It's yours. Yes, you read that correctly. Except it wasn't from Rachel. It was from Michael. Apparently, he got Rachel pregnant, and she's keeping it. And apparently, that's my problem somehow. His logic, Rachel's family disowned her when they found out about us. She is no one. I thought maybe. Since you two used to be so close. The audacity. The absolute, unfiltered audacity. I blocked him immediately, but not before taking a screenshot. Because if I've learned anything, it's that documentation is important. My response, sent via email where I know his mother and sister are CC'd, "Congratulations on your expanding family. I hope your child inherits your mother's kindness and your sister's integrity, since those qualities seem to have skipped your generation. Please do not contact me again." Petty? Yes. Necessary? Absolutely. The Tom situation. Remember Tom from the coffee shop confession? Well, we've been seeing each other. Not official yet, but there's something there. He understands the specific type of trauma that comes from being betrayed by someone you love. Our third date was a disaster movie marathon where we ate too much popcorn and made jokes about trust issues. Our seventh date was watching Hamilton where I actually cried during Wait For It because Aaron Burr's patience and strategy speaking to me right now. Tom asked, "Are we doing this because we both hate them, or because we like each other?" I thought about it for a long time. Can't it be both? He laughed. I think we're mature enough to handle both. The professional revenge update. Rachel lost her job. The non-compete clause kicked in. Her Instagram went private. Through the grapevine, through Emily, who cannot keep a single secret, I learned she's teaching yoga now. In Fresno. Making $15 an hour. Dave? His fiancée Sarah, different Sarah, confusing I know, found out about his role in covering for Michael. She called off their engagement. My favorite text from mutual friends, your ex and his best friend are having a bromance depression spiral while their exes are living their best lives in different states. The irony is thick. I didn't respond. But I did save the text. The unexpected turning point. My mom was diagnosed with breast cancer in August. Not what you expect to hear in a revenge saga, I know. But it put everything in perspective. While I was in Michigan helping with her chemotherapy, I ran into Rachel's mom at the grocery store. "Lauren," she said, clearly distressed. "I owe you the biggest apology." Apparently, Rachel had finally told her parents the truth about everything. Her mom broke down in the cereal aisle, apologizing for raising someone who could be so cruel. "She was always jealous of you," her mom said. "Even in high school. She wanted to be you." I didn't know what to say. Eventually, I just asked about Rachel. Her mom said she's struggling, working odd jobs, trying to prepare for a baby she can't afford. But that's not your problem, her mom added quickly. Just wanted you to know that we're ashamed of her. Your friendship meant so much to us. I cried in my car afterward. Not for Rachel, but for the family I'd lost when I lost her. They'd been my second family since college. The profound moment. Last week, I was unpacking a box from storage and found my old journal from our first year in San Francisco. There was an entry from May 2020. Rachel seems really interested in Michael's career lately. Keeps asking when his next promotion might come. Think she's worried about his finances since we're getting serious? Need to talk to Michael about our future plans. I documented my own suspicions years ago. I'd noticed the signs. I just chose to explain them away. Therapy insight, you kept choosing trust over intuition. But intuition is just pattern recognition by your subconscious. The healing milestone. Yesterday, I updated all my social media relationship statuses to single. Not with a post, just quietly. Several people reached out offering support. Michael commented on a LinkedIn post about my Seattle role, congrats. You deserve all the success. I didn't respond. Instead, I updated my LinkedIn, block him. Tom and I had a real conversation about our relationship. He said, I want to be with you because you're brilliant and resilient and you make terrible dad jokes. Not because we're both in recovery from being betrayed. What if that's part of who we are now? I asked. Then we'll deal with that too. But we'll deal with it honestly. That's what I missed, someone who defaults to honest. Even when it's uncomfortable. The Seattle summer has been beautiful. I've been hiking every weekend, discovered a local coffee shop that Bowie is welcome in, and I've started a book club with coworkers. My new apartment has a guest room that my mom will use when she visits for treatment. This whole situation, as awful as it was, gave me the push to prioritize what actually matters. Rachel had the baby. A girl. I know because my work mom, Patricia, who keeps track of everyone's life drama, is friends with Rachel's aunt on Facebook. I felt surprisingly nothing when I heard the news. Maybe that's growth. Maybe that's just numbness. Maybe it's acceptance that her life is now her own karmic journey. Michael sent one final text. I named her Emma. After your grandmother. I hope that's okay. I wanted to reply, you don't get to name your daughter after my family members when you destroyed my family. Instead, I deleted his contact and the message. Tom saw me do it. Feel better? Feel cleaner. Sometimes the best closure is a clean delete. No words exchanged. No energy spent. Just gone. The beautiful poetry of revenge. My Seattle office just signed Seattle's second biggest PR firm as a client. Rachel's former competitor, where she was basically blacklisted. During our first client meeting, their CEO mentioned, we need someone we can really trust to manage this account. Integrity is non-negotiable for us. We shook hands. I signed the contract. Bowie was waiting at home. And somewhere in Fresno, Rachel's teaching a noon yoga class, pregnant and alone, reaping exactly what she sowed. Final update. 2 years and 3 months since that Instagram story changed my life. I promised myself I'd write one last update on the anniversary of finding out, and here we are. The big news, Tom and I got married last weekend. Small ceremony, just immediate family and close friends. No drama. No Instagram stories breaking trust. Just love, honesty, and zero secrets. My mom officiated. She's been in remission for 6 months and wanted to do something meaningful. Her vows to us included, marriage is about building a life where trust is your foundation, not your aspiration. Sarah's daughter, my niece, was our flower girl. At almost 2 years old, she stole the show by yelling love is real. During our first kiss. The photographer caught it perfectly, pure joy, untouched by past pain. My relationship with my past. I see Michael occasionally. Seattle is too small to avoid completely. Last month, we ended up in the same coffee shop. I was with Tom, picking up drinks for the team. Michael was alone, looking tired, pushing a stroller. He nodded. I nodded back. That was it. No drama. No longing. Just two people who used to know each other sharing a moment of acknowledgement. Tom asked afterward, should I have said something? What would you say to him, honey? I replied. Thank you for being terrible. You gave me Lauren. I laughed so hard I nearly dropped our coffees. What happened to everyone else? Rachel moved back to Michigan last year. Turns out Fresno was too far from family support while raising a daughter alone. I only know this because my mom ran into Rachel's mom at the farmer's market. How's she doing? I asked when mom told me. Growing, mom said carefully. Learning hard lessons. The baby's beautiful. I surprised myself by feeling a small hope for them both. Not forgiveness exactly, but a wish for peace. Dave's still in San Francisco, reconciled with his ex-fiancée after extensive therapy and groveling, according to Emily. They're having a baby too. Circle of life, I suppose. Career victories. I got promoted to director last month. The PR firm account I mentioned? It's now worth $2 million annually to our company. Our CEO mentioned my exceptional resilience and strategic thinking during the announcement. During my promotion speech, I thanked my team, my family, and the unexpected teachers who showed me what I really value in life. Tom understood. So did everyone else who knew the story. The biggest surprise. Last week, I got a letter. Handwritten. Vintage stationery. From Rachel. It was 3 pages long. No excuses this time. Just acknowledgement. I know you'll probably never read this, but I need to write it anyway. I spent our entire friendship being jealous of you, your confidence, your family stability, your ability to trust people. Instead of working on myself, I decided to take something from you. I justified hurting you by telling myself I couldn't help falling in love, but the truth is, I engineered our alone times together. I sought out his attention. I made choices that destroyed your trust. Emma asks about you sometimes. She's heard my mom mention Aunt Lauren. I tell her you were a wonderful friend who helped make her exist, but that's where our story ended. I don't tell her the whole truth, but I will someday. I hope you found happiness. You always deserved better than what I gave you as a friend or what Michael gave you as a partner. Thank you for teaching me what integrity means by showing me the cost of losing mine. I read it twice. Then I filed it with my other documents from that time. Not to forget, but to remember how far I've come. Tom found me at my home office later, staring at the Seattle skyline. Penny, for your thoughts? Just thinking about how sometimes the worst things lead to the best things. If that Instagram story never happened, I'd be married to the wrong person, living a life based on lies, probably would have lost myself completely. He hugged me from behind. And I'd still be alone, wondering why I couldn't trust anyone enough to try again. The truth about healing. This isn't a revenge story anymore. It's a growth story. Yes, I orchestrated some professional consequences for Rachel. Yes, I relish Michael's comeuppance. But ultimately, what healed me wasn't their fall, it was my rise. I don't follow either of them online. I don't ask mutual friends for updates. I live my life so fully that theirs becomes irrelevant. Last night, Tom asked if I'd do it differently if I could go back. I thought about it seriously. About the pregnancy I lost. About the pain of betrayal. About the months of strategic revenge plotting. I'd probably check that Instagram story at a more reasonable hour, I said. But I wouldn't change the outcome. Because here's what I learned, the best revenge isn't calculated moves or professional sabotage. It's building a life so authentic, so full of genuine connections, that the people who betrayed you become footnotes instead of chapters. Rachel is raising her daughter. Michael is figuring out fatherhood. Tom and I have 3-month-old twins on the way. Surprise. We're having identical girls too, Emma's half-sisters, technically, though our families exist in entirely different universes. I recently found my letter to past Lauren that I wrote in therapy. I added a postscript. P.S. That terrible heartbreak you're about to experience? It's going to make you appreciate love that's real. It's going to teach you about strategic thinking, setting boundaries, and the importance of community. You'll come out the other side not bitter, but better. Also, you'll adopt the goodest boy named Bowie, have the most patience-tested pregnancy with twins, seriously, invest in pregnancy pillow stocks, and realize that your greatest revenge story is actually a love story in disguise. Seattle's waiting. Tom's waiting. Your real life is waiting. Trust the process. And maybe invest in Apple instead of Tesla. My therapist framed both versions on her wall as examples of radical transformation through adversity. The moral of the story. If someone shows you their true colors through deceit and betrayal, believe them. But also believe in your own strength to recreate yourself. The Instagram story that shattered my world gave me permission to build a new one. Sometimes life's biggest blessings come wrapped in betrayal so ugly you almost don't recognize the gift inside. To anyone going through something similar, document everything, trust your gut, and remember that while revenge has its moments, resilience writes the better ending. Seattle is beautiful today. The twins are kicking up a storm. Tom's making coffee. Bowie's snoring. And somewhere in Michigan, Rachel's daughter is learning to walk. I hope she learns to walk with integrity. This is my final update. The last page of this chapter. But not the end of the story. The end of this story is peace. The end is choosing love over vengeance, growth over bitterness. The end is realizing that the people who betray you aren't characters in your story, they're merely the plot device that pushes you toward your real life. Thank you for following this journey. May your own plot twists lead to beautiful destinations. Be well, trust wisely, and always screenshot the evidence. Much love, Lauren. 2 years, 3 months, and 7 days update, final, for real this time. Hello again. Yes, it's me, the girl whose life imploded via Instagram story. I promised my last update would be final, but something happened this week that made me realize I needed to share one more truth with you all. The truth is, I lied in my final update. Not intentionally, but by omission. Tom and I actually separated 6 months ago. We've been doing the therapy thing, the we survived trauma together so we can survive anything thing. But around month 14 of our relationship, we both started realizing we were performing healing rather than feeling it. We built a beautiful structure around our trauma bond, but were we actually building on solid foundation? The turning point came when our therapist asked, if you'd never been betrayed, would you still choose each other? Neither of us could answer yes immediately. We took a break. 2 months that turned into 4. Tom moved to Denver for a job opportunity. I stayed in Seattle with Bowie, who's now a therapy dog in training, another surprise. Here's the real kicker. I reconnected with an old college friend named Jasmine, 35F, during this time. We'd lost touch after graduation, but she reached out after seeing my final update. She just left her own cheating partner and wanted comparing notes on moving forward with grace instead of gasoline. Jazz and I started hiking every weekend. She's a writer, recently published a novel about identity reconstruction. While sitting on a mountain overlooking Seattle one Sunday, she said, "You know what's funny? You spent 2 years narrating yourself into a new life, but you never actually decided who that person should be." She was right. I'd been so focused on not being the girl who got cheated on that I'd forgotten to figure out who I actually wanted to be. What happened to everyone, the real version? Tom and I email occasionally. He's dating his coworker in Denver, someone who knew him before our trauma narrative. They seem genuinely happy. He sent a text last week, "Thank you for teaching me what healthy love shouldn't look like, so I could recognize what it should." I replied, "Back at you, trauma twin." Michael and Rachel got married. Quietly. In a courthouse. With Emma there. I know this because my cousin attended. Rachel's brother is married to my second cousin, small world. Apparently they looked tired but trying. My cousin said Rachel kept her head down the whole time, never once looking for me in the crowd. The pregnancy scare with twins? That was real anxiety manifesting as physical symptoms. My therapist called it anticipatory motherhood trauma. I did extensive testing. Not pregnant. Just processing grief about the baby I lost in layers I didn't realize existed. The director promotion? Also real, thank God. At least some victories weren't narratives I created to cope. The real revenge. Last month, I had coffee with my old writing professor from college. I've been thinking about Rachel's letter, about this whole story I've been telling, about truths and performances. She said, "You know what would be brave? Actually examine the part of you that orchestrated Rachel's professional downfall. Not to shame yourself, but to understand what that says about who you become when threatened." I spent 3 weeks in therapy unpacking this. Turns out I'm more strategic than I thought. More calculating. More capable of long-term payback than I admitted. But also, more capable of transformation than I dared to believe. Here's what I discovered: revenge can coexist with healing. You can orchestrate consequences while also choosing growth. You can be both strategic enough to ensure justice and wise enough to let go before it consumes you. The most honest truth. I'm dating again. Her name is Maria, 33F, she's an ER nurse, and she has no idea who Rachel or Michael are. We met at a rescue dog event where we both almost adopted the same golden retriever. Bowie, jealous as ever, gave his approval. Maria knows I've been hurt. She's seen me have PTSD moments when certain songs play or when people mention Instagram stories. But she also sees me laugh without trauma underlying it. Yesterday, she said, "I love that you're not a damsel or a revenge goddess. You're just you. Complex and imperfect and real." That hit something deep. For 2 years, I've been performing recovery, displaying healing, narrating transformation. With Maria, I just am. The biggest revelation. I kept Rachel's daughter Emma's baby announcement on my fridge until last week. Now I'm throwing it away. Not as a power move. Just as a quiet acknowledgement that their story is no longer part of mine. Sometimes letting go is as simple as putting something in the trash. I'm actually laughing as I write this. After years of strategic documentation, calculated narrative arcs, and performed healing, the most profound growth came from just living quietly. From dating someone new without performing my past. From letting revenge fade into a story I tell at dinner parties instead of a lifestyle I maintain. Seattle's fog rolled in today. Bowie's at Maria's place, they're having a movie night. My apartment is too clean because I'm avoiding finishing my first draft of a novel. Yes, I'm finally using all this narrative energy for something creative. If I could text past Lauren now, I'd say, plot twist, your therapist was right about everything. Also, start writing fiction earlier. And maybe don't check Instagram at 3 a.m. Or do, the whole thing leads to Bowie and bagels with a beautiful nurse. This is truly my final update. Not because I've finished healing, is anyone ever really done? But because I no longer need to narrativize my growth to believe in it. To anyone following this saga, real healing is boring. It's choosing oatmeal over revenge fantasies. It's building a life so genuine that Instagram stories become irrelevant. It's understanding that your biggest plot twist might be realizing you don't need plot twists anymore. May your own betrayals lead to quiet revelations and Saturday mornings with people who see you as primary character material in your regular life, not just your trauma arc. Document responsibly. Trust slowly. Choose love repeatedly. Forever your favorite mess turned cautionary tale turned. Honestly, just another person figuring it out. Signing off for the absolute final time, Lauren. P.S. Jasmine's novel is called Stories We Tell to Survive. It's dedicated to everyone performing their way to real. P.P.S. If you're still invested in the Rachel-Michael saga, their marriage is dissolving. Dave called last month to warn me, apparently they're questioning everything. I felt neutral. Maybe that's actual healing. P.P.P.S. Maria says I need to stop with the postscripts. She's probably right. This is why I'm dating a nurse, someone finally telling me when enough is enough. Epilogue, the story behind the story. I never meant to become the revenge girl. 6 months after my last final update, I'm sitting in a coffee shop where Tom and I used to meet. There's a woman 3 tables over, early 30s, typing furiously with tears streaming down her face. My heart recognizes her before my brain does. She's writing her own narrative. Building her case. Documenting her truth. I've seen this before. I've been this before. Here's what nobody tells you about recovery narratives: they save you through the writing, but you save yourself through the living. The woman's laptop screen is angled toward me. I catch glimpses, his brother knows. Instagram mentioned. Can't believe I slide my business card across the space between our tables. On the back, I write, Reddit helped. Therapy helped more. You're stronger than you think. She looks up, nods once. We share the silent language of women who've had to reconstruct ourselves after someone else's deception. I pay for her coffee and leave. The truth is, I still check my old updates sometimes. They're snapshots of a person learning to breathe underwater. The revenge parts make me cringe. The strategic calculations feel juvenile. But the growth, that's still real. I did what I said I'd do, built a life where Michael and Rachel became background characters. But I never told you about the quiet victories. The night Michael tried to add me on LinkedIn and I deleted the request without my heart rate changing. The time I ran into Rachel's mom at Target and managed a genuine smile. The day I realized I hadn't thought about them in 3 weeks. Those weren't updates worth posting. But they were the real work of healing. Maria and I are planning a trip to Iceland next month. While reading about Northern Lights tours, she mentioned, I love that you never compare me to your ex. The truth is, I can't. Michael was a character in a story I was performing. Maria exists in the life I'm actually living. Sometimes I wonder if Rachel reads these updates. If she follows the digital breadcrumbs of my healing, looking for signs of her forgiveness. The truth is simpler: I don't forgive her, but I don't need to carry that weight anymore. My therapist once asked, what if revenge is just grief dressed in better clothes? She was right. Every calculated move was just me processing loss in the most dramatic way possible. Now grief comes as it should, in waves, manageable, temporary. Here's the honest truth about moving forward: it's not about forgetting what happened. It's about no longer needing the story to define you. I kept all my updates in a document titled Insurance Policy. Now I'm thinking of changing it to Learning Log. Bowie's 14 now. Grayer, slower, but still side-eyeing people he doesn't trust. Maria says he has excellent judgment. She's the first person he liked immediately. The last message from Michael: I saw you're doing well. I'm happy for you. I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. The real final update isn't about where I am now. It's about accepting that healing doesn't need an audience, that revenge is overrated, and that the best way to win is to simply keep living. I close my laptop and look out the window. Seattle's rain is steady, predictable, cleansing. My phone buzzes, Maria texting about dinner plans. This is the plot twist: ordinary happiness feels revolutionary after extraordinary betrayal. To that woman 3 tables over, and anyone else documenting their way to recovery, write your story. Process your pain. Then close the book and open your windows. Let the rain wash away the ink of old wounds. True power isn't in the narrative you craft for others. It's in the peace you create for yourself when no one's watching. The best revenge story ends when you stop calling it revenge, and it becomes just life. I finish my coffee, leave a good tip, and drive to the grocery store. Maria's coming for dinner. Bowie needs treats. The twins Rachel and Michael might face are doing great. Emma's 8 now, still believing Aunt Lauren is just someone from mom's past. Healing isn't a story with an ending. It's a life with new beginnings, scattered throughout like plot devices we never see coming. Maybe that's the real truth about betrayal. It doesn't end when the other person pays. It ends when you stop keeping receipts. I'm thinking of deleting my Reddit account tonight. Not as closure, but as acknowledgement that the chapter titled Recovery has quietly become a lifetime of simply living. To my past self frantically documenting, trust me. The silence after the storm sounds like freedom. And to everyone following trauma bond narratives, the real love story begins when the revenge arc ends. I'm off to make dinner with my girlfriend while our dog snores on the couch. It's unremarkable. It's beautiful. It's enough. Final truth, the best revenge is a life so full, you forget to be vengeful. Now if you'll excuse me, I have some living to do. I suppose the real end of the story isn't the revenge. It's the morning you wake up and realize the person who betrayed you hasn't crossed your mind in weeks. Not because you forced yourself to forget, but because your brain has quietly reassigned that mental real estate to brunch plans and work projects and the way your partner laughs at terrible jokes. Today marks exactly 3 years since I woke up at 3 a.m. to that Instagram story. I'm keeping this update shorter because, honestly, I'm not that person anymore. The one who meticulously documented every revelation and revenge plot. I respect her though, she got me here. Here's what actually happened. Maria and I bought a house last month. It has the kind of yard Bowie's always deserved, though at his age, he mostly enjoys supervised sunbathing. Our life is beautifully ordinary, we argue about whose turn to unload the dishwasher and make bad puns during dinner prep. I haven't checked Michael's or Rachel's social media in, I actually don't remember how long. The algorithms have buried them under years of Seattle food recommendations and dog training videos. Emma's probably 10 now. I hope she's happy and surrounded by better role models than her parents initially provided. Last week, I got an unexpected email. My old therapist retired, and while going through files, she found my letter to past Lauren. She sent it back with a note, "You might want this now that you've actually figured it out." Reading it felt like looking at someone else's handwriting. The pain was real, but distant, like pressing on a healed bone that once shattered. I can remember exactly how much it hurt without feeling the ache. The strategic revenge I orchestrated feels foreign to who I am now. Though I still keep the screenshots, filed away with my college transcripts and tax returns, not to obsess over, but because documentation habits die hard. 2 months ago, I ran into Dave at a work conference. We had a surprisingly normal conversation about the tech industry. He mentioned Michael has 2 kids now and seems committed to being different. I felt genuinely happy for their children. That's how I knew I'd fully healed, not when I stopped hating, but when I could wish them actual goodness. The most profound change? I trust again. Not naively, but purposefully. I love Maria with my eyes open, aware that hurt exists but choosing connection anyway. We know each other's worst fears now, not because of shared trauma, but because of shared vulnerability. I stopped therapy 6 months ago. My therapist said I'd graduated to regular person problems. She was right. Now my biggest stress is whether Bowie will tolerate the new rescue puppy Maria's been eyeing. Sometimes people ask if I'd change anything if I could go back. The answer is still no. Not because I'm grateful for the pain, fuck that trauma-glorifying nonsense, but because trying to rewrite history is like trying to unbake a cake. The ingredients of who I am now include every betrayal, every tear-stained document, every strategic calculation. But here's the truth they don't tell you about healing journeys: they're not linear, they're not always photogenic, and they don't always end with pithy wisdom. Sometimes they end with you making pancakes on a Sunday morning, your girlfriend complaining about your dog snoring, and realizing you're exactly where you need to be. My therapist used to say, closure isn't a destination, it's a choice you make repeatedly. She was right. Every day I choose to invest in this life rather than that story. The story still exists, in these updates, in my memories, but it doesn't control my present. Reading old updates feels like watching a stranger overcome their demons with too much coffee and excessive determination. I respect her journey, but I'm grateful to not be her anymore. To anyone currently in the revenge era, take the screenshots, document everything, protect yourself fiercely. Then, when you're ready, choose something better. Not because vengeance isn't sweet, it is, but because building a life that doesn't need it is sweeter. The real plot twist wasn't Tom or Maria or any relationship. It was learning that self-love isn't performed through perfect Instagram updates or strategic takedowns. It's practiced in small moments, like turning off notifications, saying no without explanation, and choosing peace over being right. This is the actual final update. Not because the story has a neat conclusion, life isn't a narrative arc, but because I'm living my life instead of writing about it. My business is thriving. Bowie snores louder than ever. Maria makes terrible coffee but perfect eggs. The house needs painting but we're too busy enjoying it to care. And somewhere in Michigan, Rachel is raising her daughter. I genuinely hope they're okay. Not as a performance of magnanimity, but as a quiet recognition that her actions forced me to find my own strength. She did me a favor, even if she never meant to. The real ending isn't revenge or redemption or even forgiveness. It's indifference wrapped in genuine contentment. It's choosing today's grocery list over yesterday's trauma. It's understanding that the best stories don't need constant updates. To my past self, endlessly documenting, you did what you needed to do. Your audience understands. Now go live the life that makes all that pain worthwhile. And to everyone still in the thick of their narrative, document what you need to document. Process what you need to process. Then one day, hopefully sooner than later, you'll find yourself not because you've written the perfect ending, but because you've stopped needing to write it all. I'm closing this chapter for good. The sequel is just called Living Well. Seattle's still beautiful. Love is still worth it. Dogs still heal everything. The best revenge? Becoming someone who no longer seeks it. Sign me off, Reddit. It's time for the groceries. Forever grateful, finally at peace, perpetually dog-obsessed, Lauren. P.S. My favorite comment ever was from user u/practical wisdom 67. The best revenge is when your ex checks your page and all they find are pictures of your well-adjusted plants. They were right.